Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at the South Park Center. I'm delighted to be joined with Jahmil with her fantastic movie, The Bond. Let's take a look at the clip.
Aria.
Hi, just checking to see if you're back from the board.
No, not yet, dear. Stay positive, okay? You two have an excellent chance of getting into the program.
Thank you for being here. I am so honored you came to New Filmmakers LA and brought your brilliant film.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a wonderful opportunity and a wonderful experience getting to know the other filmmakers as well and seeing their work. It was a really, really cool program yesterday,
Yeah, special group of people. For those that haven't seen your film, tell us a brief synopsis.
The Bond is a social impact film. It follows an incarcerated pregnant woman as she's giving birth and she's fighting to hold on to her most precious connection in a very isolating system.
It's a very, very important film, and I think that we, until we've had things like, Orange is the New Black that sort of came through, we haven't really seen an insight, but you took an insight to something we've never seen before, and also took us in on an important subject that I think needs to be executed everywhere across America and beyond to know what women are going through that are incarcerated. Yeah. Where did the inspiration come for you in creating this particular project?
Well, The Bond is inspired by my mom's experience giving birth to me while she was incarcerated. And so this happened, years ago, but I started learning more and more that this issue was an ongoing issue of shackling incarcerated pregnant women. And with the rise of mass incarceration, the criminalization of addiction, as what happened with my mom, and the criminalization of poverty, and the criminalization of pretty much anything. And now when we're hearing about, the war on reproductive justice and reproductive rights, we're hearing that doctors can now be incarcerated, and people who are just looking for reproductive rights and freedom, they can now, be incarcerated. And so this issue is very close to my heart, and I realized, this population that's usually, invisible, but is now growing. It's a growing invisible population, and I just wanted to bring attention to this community of women, and also to show, put a face on this issue, like who's actually being impacted in this with this issue.
Yeah.
I also wanted to bring attention to the shackling issue of women who are incarcerated and being shackled as they give birth. It's an ongoing issue, and I realize, as mass incarceration is an ongoing problem and it's growing in this country, more and more mothers and babies are going to be impacted by this, and so I decided to make this film.
Well, just listen, thank you, Jahmil, for making such a personal story, and a personal story that everyone needs to be educated about, to learn about, to fight against, and also anyone that has been through this experience, just gets to feel seen, and that we're actually talking about a subject that's really important. It's hurtful to know that there are so many inhumane things that happen to mothers and children in so many different ways in this country.
Absolutely.
And I'm so glad that you brought attention to this, because statistics don't lie, and it's getting worse.
Right.
Is it kind of been surprising, even though you've come from this experience, to know that there's really not been a lot of development in this area? In fact, it's kind of been so much swept under the carpet, like a lot of things in the prison system.
Yeah.
Was that something you kind of was like alarmed at, the statistics as well?
Yeah, I know that my mom has, I'll rewind. Yes, this subject matter, the anti-shackling movement is sort of, it's been going on for quite a long time, and people have been working across the nation to put an end to it, and it's an ongoing issue. And my mom helped to pass the anti-shackling law in New York, but every state has its own movement. I hope to use this film to bring legislative change and to bring more attention to it. And I think of it as a really useful tool because it's a 16-minute film. You know, people can show, you know, their leaders. They can screen it in their community. They can screen it to people who are impacted by this issue. The thing about this demographic is that inherently they're hidden and they're invisible and we don't see them. And so we, you know, want to use our tools as filmmakers to bring attention to issues that are hidden and and specifically for me, I want to use my filmmaking as a way to bring attention to marginalized communities and traditionally, you know, unseen communities and realities. So
you're doing that in such an impactful way. Like I just want to watch everything that you're doing because you know you're leading the way. But I'm just so grateful for how you directed this. You know, it was a really hard film to watch, but so true and so brilliant. And I just want to know you're directing. How is it directing a project like this? And you also, let's not forget, you got a brilliant cast, and they just delivered so wonderfully well. How was that experience for you as a director? And also, how do you work with your cast as well?
I mean, my cast and crew is magnificent. For some of the cast members, I was able to just reach out directly to them. Catherine Irby, I had known before, and I reached out to her with the script, and she came on board and is a very generous person. Yolanda Ross, I had seen her work over the years and had seen her in a film called Stranger Inside about a mother and a daughter who find each other while they're incarcerated, and I just immediately thought of her for the role and reached out, and she was so gracious to say yes. And Ashley came on just a few days before we started filming, and was immediately, as soon as I saw her on camera, I was like, you know, you were meant to be here. You're magnificent. She's quite a talent. And so basically, we just did a lot of, you know, like exercises in between cut and action while people were setting up. We did a lot of just trying to figure out what each scene was about because we didn't have a lot of time to go into rehearsals, and so a lot of it had to be done on set. And so really, it was just about trusting Ashley, trusting my cast and my crew, and also releasing the need to control the specific dialogue because again, Ashley had only a couple days to learn her lines and she did a magnificent job at that, but at the same time, for me as a director, it's more important that the actors know like what the scene's about. And in fact, when they're able to use their own dialogue and their own language to get to that finish line, to get to the end goal of the scene, it feels a lot more organic, actually. And so that's something that I learned was to basically just trust the actors and get to the heart of the scenes. And so in the end, it ended up working out really, really nicely. No, definitely. And I mean, again, the stakes are high in this film, so you know, you've given a lot for your actors to kind of work off as well with this project. As well with and the other thing too is, you know, with my crew as well, you know, it's, as we know, filmmaking it's a community event, it's a communal art form, and so having also trust in my DP and my editors. I had like 2 editors who brought completely fresh insights. I have a DP where we went in with a very strong and solid shooting list. Our shot list was solid, but we always wanted to leave room for experimental, for experimentation, and we wanted to leave room for play. And so even as we shot what was on our shot list, we would also take a couple shots where I just tell the DP, do what you do, do what you feel. And we were able to discover some really awesome moments that weren't planned for that ended up in the film and made the film, you know, elevated the film in the end to what you see on screen. So, no, most definitely. And I just want to add as well, actually, speaking about production, and location and how you made the film look and feel. It was really poignant how you kind of shot it as well and everything else. How was that, finding that location and finding those spots, because it just obviously looked very authentic? Yeah, absolutely. We shot the prison bits up at a location, well, it's a closed detention center up in Lancaster, California called Mira Loma. We noticed that up the road from that prison was a brand, like a newer max, what is it called?
Oh,
Like
maximum
security.
security, yeah.
So we, up the road there was a maximum security prison, and so this detention center was no longer used. So now it's only used for film and television sets. But when we went in, we just saw all of this. It still felt like the prison. I think at one point it was even used as a detention center for undocumented people, and yeah, it had that energy. And we all went in as the cast and crew, and we just kind of like tried to use this like this. It just felt so heavy, and you could just feel it, and the smell and everything. So we captured all of that, and it's fascinating to think, you know, California State, it's going to use prisons and make money off prisons no matter what. Like, you know, they're still using it, but they're using it for film and television. And then the hospital scenes were shot in Anaheim at Silver Screen Factory. I think it's what is it? Silver Screen Factories is a, what is it called when they have sets?
Oh, like multiple location sets, or like at a studio kind of thing, or
yeah, it's like a studio, or it's a studio. So we shot the hospital scene in Anaheim at Silver Screen Studios, or Silver Screen Factories in Anaheim. Yeah, it was.
Oh, cool. Amazing! Like really good job.
Yeah.
Just, you know, as well, I think one of the films that we spoke about in the team at New Filmmakers LA is just how wonderfully this film has been acclaimed at many film festivals, and you know, you've been celebrated all over the country, and it's to your credit, and we were so excited to have your film.
To the cast and crew as well.
To the cast and crew for all of the great work that you've done on the Barnes, and you know, we know this has been heavily celebrated. What's the experience been like for you to take this film, something that's so personal? We're so grateful that you brought this out universally for us all to see. How's the experience been having this in front of an audience? And we certainly loved having it in New Filmmakers LA. It's
been wonderful to take the film around the country, and it's been amazing to meet fellow filmmakers, writers, directors, producers, as I've attended a bunch of festivals around the country.
Yeah.
But again, you know, I think of this film as a social impact piece. And so mostly I want to keep working to get the film in front of other formerly incarcerated women and families and children who were impacted by, who are impacted by the criminal justice system and carceral system. And so, I'm just going to continue doing that, and hopefully also there's an educational component to it as well. So hopefully we can get to some universities and colleges around the country. But it's mostly it's wonderful to go to the film festivals, but I still want to reach the actual community, because this film is also to help us find one another and to destigmatize our community. I think more and more people are realizing that we're all touched by the prison industry in this country, so many of us. And so the more that we can stop sort of living with stigma and shame, I think that's where the work can really begin, when we can start talking about it more.
No, I'm so glad that you are bringing this all to attention as well. I mean, there's so many factors with this film, but also for you as a filmmaker, that I'm just so excited that you're just gonna keep driving out important content, and great storytelling. Like, you know, just I want to say, like, for you as a filmmaker, as an artist, like, what kind of inspires you, like, as a filmmaker? Like, what kind of more continual work do you want to do with your filmmaking?
Let's see. Well, as a filmmaker and a writer and a producer, I am actually really passionate about genre as well. And so I've been trying to find a way to bridge my passion for social justice and advocacy and social impact with genre, like sci-fi and fantasy. And just everything I do, I want there to be that humanistic component. And so I've been trying to work more towards sort of bridging those things. I think usually when people think about social impact, they think of documentary, and I love documentary. I've done documentary, and so but I also think that with social impact, you can imbue any of your work with social impact, and so I'm trying to find a way to add social impact to sci-fi and fantasy stories that I'm telling as well. And so, yeah, right now I'm working on writing a few pilots, and they all spotlight communities that are not usually seen in sci-fi and fantasy stories. What else? And yeah, I think I'm going to continue directing and producing and writing, but ultimately I would love to be a showrunner.
Yes.
I want to go into television, so
I can't wait.
I'm just writing and trying to collect, as many writing samples and continue building community around storytelling.
Is there people that you kind of look up to, that you've aspired to in their careers, that you kind of just inspire you as a filmmaker?
As a storyteller, I really love what Jordan Peele's done, because he's passionate about social impact as well, and he's found a way with Monkey Paw to bring in these elements, these social elements with his horror and thriller work. I really love Jordan Peele. I love Shonda Rhimes just because it's Shonda Rhimes and she's built this empire, on storytelling. And also on top of that, she mentors and tries to create more opportunities for other rising and emerging writers and showrunners. She's created opportunities for other showrunners. I also love Pose. As a piece of art.
So New York, it's so New York too, isn't it?
Yeah, Steven's really cool, and I love what he did with family drama. He created a new definition for what a family drama is supposed to be, and by telling a found family story. I love found family stories. And so I just love these filmmakers and these TV writers and showrunners who are just they're perfect examples of telling stories with a social bend to them, a humanistic bend to them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm going to watch everything that you do. I hope that you know that you're part of our New Filmmakers LA family, and we're going to support whenever we can. But I know you're going to be a showrunner. I know you're going to do all these things. I know you're going to impact social justice and injustice and movements. Like, I just know it. From your lips
to God's ears.
Exactly.
I'm here to manifest.
Manifest. We're manifesting right now for you.
Yes,
honestly,
thank you.
But. Again, thank you so much for making such an important film that I think should be in every political office, every school, every prison, everywhere, every office. And we're so proud of you. Just to finalize on, for anyone out there that is being like, I want to do what Jahmil's doing, I want to follow in your footsteps, do you kind of have any advice for anybody else out there that you could kind of share, that you go by as a creative person?
The thing that I do when I'm looking at a blank screen is I essentially I try to tell the story that I know. I try to start with truly like what's the scariest thing, or the thing that's just like at the forefront of my mind. And I don't try to force it. In fact, I found that, with this film, The Bond, and with my previous film, Heartland, these stories sort of flowed out, and when they started flowing out, I realized, okay, this is the story I'm meant to tell right now. So I think seeing your personal experiences, even the scariest ones, or the more even the stigmatized experiences, those are your superpowers, and your lived experience is your superpower. And so I tell people who are aspiring writers to start there. Start with your story and your truth. Because you're not alone, and those are the stories that people are going to connect with, the ones that they don't have the privilege of seeing all the time on the screen, on the small screen and the big screen. So
well, you're a perfect example of The Bond. Like, this is actually something you truly identify with, and it's so important that you're the one telling the story as well. So I just want to say thank you so much. Really appreciate you. And we're manifesting right now, but all the greatness will keep continuing for you as well. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you very much to everybody.